Today in my garden studio I'm going to do a diptych. So you know how that works. You've got triptych, triple, and then you've got a diptych. So we're going to show you I want to do 2 trees down here, and I'm going to be using masking tape, and I'll show you how I cut the masking tape. I'm going to cut the masking tape down the center. So that's the masking tape, and then what I might do is I'll take it to the next level and do a mask using actual branches of the tree. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm using raw sienna and purple. So raw sienna is almost like a yellow, kind of yellow, so I'm putting purple on the side. And what I'm going to do is water it down, and I'm going to then imagine where my tree is going to be, maybe off center, a little bit like 1/3, and then water my paint down. And the reason I'm doing it is to give the tree a little bit of definition as we go along, watering it down quite a lot. Put some more water in here, and purple, the yellowish color, and the purple violet is going to create a neutral color, which is exactly what I want. Not quite sure, but I want to paint the tree around about the width of the masking tape, and I'm taking the tree all the way to the top. I'm putting the yellow ochre, it's actually raw sienna. Did I say yellow ochre? I meant raw sienna. And I'm imagining my light coming from the right hand side, so I'm going to create a darker purple on this side. And what I'm going to do here is I'm repeating it on this board, this one board of the diptych. The diptych, 2 boards that go together. Here, there are my trees that are in, and now I'm adding a bit of the violet purple in here to give it a shadowed side of the tree. So I'll get my violet purple. Some of it can be really dark. I'm not sure what these trees would be called. They're dentist trees. But a friend of mine calls them leopard trees because they have these kind of spots. The bark comes off in certain areas and you end up with these pieces. Now you can imagine we're going to put the tape on once it's dry, and then we're going to create a background, and then we're going to pull the tape off again. So this is the point where you're actually using composition to make your painting, and what I do is I just go with my feeling. I don't know, I'm not sure why I'm doing what I'm doing, but you'll stick by me and you'll see the end product. The end product is going to be amazing. So I'm using up some purple paint and a very small brush like that, and I'm just putting some definition into my tree, considering the left hand side of the tree's got the shadow, so the light is coming down from this right hand side of in my position, and creating a definition in the tree. And it's pretty easy to do. It's just a straight tree, straight line, and the principle here is that the light is coming from the one side. So there we go. Kind of imagine these panels being dark at the end, because we're keeping the light inside the tree. So I'm going to cut across here, and there's a line that I want to take care of there, and more definition on this side. These trees have I don't know if they're called poplar trees or something. I'm going to find out. They grow pretty straight up in a kind of forest area. So I'm getting, and remember the darker kind of bottom of the painting is going to be slightly darker. So you copy that with the tree as well. Get that shape in. So I think I'm going to put another tree in here and another tree in there. I like to work in thirds, so 3 trees and then 3 trees, but none of them are the same. What I've decided to do is put a thinner tree, narrower tree down the side. I'm using my finger as a guide on the edge of this board, and I also don't want it to be completely regular. The base of the tree is going to end around here, and what that means is the tree is going to appear to be further away. And then again, I use my little finger on the side, my little pinky, and I'm going to put a tree down here. And it doesn't need to be regular. It doesn't need to be straight line. So now I'm going to put some purple in on the left hand side of the tree, and then what's going to happen is that will form a shadow. Less detail. The one in the front is going to have more detail, the one at the back is going to have less detail. So I'm going to do that to both my trees, both of the thin trees, and then I'm going to let this dry. Let it dry thoroughly, because we're going to be putting masking tape over the top, which I've already cut. So the masking tape is cut over here on my table, and I'll show you when we get to applying the masking tape. So it's not regular. The cut of the masking tape square on the one side and it's irregular on the other side. But we first wait for the paint to dry. The paint must completely dry. What I've done here is cut the masking tape down the center. But what I'm going to do is I'm not putting it where the square edge is on that left hand side. I'm putting it where the rough edge shows. Take it right through, and it doesn't have to follow your line. You've got to try to imagine the mask. I'm going to pick this one up. Let's try and get this one up. I've got to get it off the desk. Here we go. Here we go. And I'm going to put, so the square edge of the masking tape is right where my fingernail is there, and this is the rough edge. And the other square edge is going to cover, just cover the inside of this first piece. What that's doing is it's giving me an irregular tree. I'm going to do that again on the big tree. And the nice part about this little exercise is that you can thin the tree down. So my rough edge is on the left hand side there, and press it down fairly firmly. Then my next piece I'm going to put, and the square edge is going to cover the square edge again, just a little bit like that. So my tree has got an irregular shape, and that's really what you want. So I'm pressing it down, and we're going to do much the same with the smaller and thinner trees. I'm doing the smaller trees now, and the important part about the smaller trees is they are elevated off the ground here at this bottom piece here, so that what they look like is they look like they're actually going to the back. So the masking is down. Just press firmly, kind of a little gently, and get the edges touching the board. And now we're ready to start the painting itself. What I'm aiming to do here is making a mixture of raw sienna, green and purple, okay, a little bit mixed down with water, and then a little section of black. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to get a multicolored kind of sponge effect. Now the thing with the sponge is that it really absorbs a lot of the paint, so you've got to be prepared to mix up more stuff. And then we just start building up a little bit of black in there, and try not to mix it up too much in the palette. Try and get little sections where you know there's green and there's a bit of black and a bit of the raw sienna, And what I'm going to do is I'm cutting right across. Keep your diptych in the same position. So you can cut right across the diptych and it makes it into one painting. So that's what I'm doing there. And I'm turning my sponge to get the different colors as I go. And it's obviously, this is a very abstract painting, so you've got to watch it as you go along and make decisions as you go along. And we're trying to create a dense background, remembering the tone of these trees, which will disappear at this stage, but when we pull the tape off, you'll be able to see what they become. Okay, so far we've got this dip in here, so this is not straight, it's not level. Obviously you can do whatever you want to do, just experiment, and I still don't know what I'm going to get. Still not sure what I'm going to get. And what I'm seeing is I'd like this to be a light area, so we're looking through the forest, and then this down here is going to be fairly dark. So let's get the dark in. Just picking up a bit of black there. I'm not really a fan of black, but it certainly has its place in the palette. So there we go, we've got a dark piece down there. Tone is really much more important than the color itself. Get the tone in, don't be afraid of the dark. Don't be afraid of the dark. Try and keep your two boards together so that it makes a logical crossover between the two boards. And that's for a diptych, and it's actually also much more difficult, becomes a bit tricky when it comes to a triptych, because the triptych you have to have everything in line and so that it makes sense. So I'm happy with that so far. We can just put a bit more black in some areas here, maybe there. Remember, the tone of the tree is a helicopter. Oh man, always something, the noise, but it's okay. It's a crop spraying helicopter, and that's because we live in a rural kind of farming community. So I like this light area that's happening underneath here, and that could also be a bit more colorful, bring the color forward. Color comes forward and dark goes back, and then we're going to play around with this area. At this point you could use the same side of the brush, sponge, or you could use the new side of the brush. Pow! Sponge, crazy. Okay, so I'm going to use the same side because that's going to help me mix my colors. Now I've got a good section of white here, and a little bit of yellow. So I'm just turning my brush knot around. Here we go. And then I'll get a little bit of yellow in there. Test it out to see if you're fine with it. And then I can turn it and twist it, get more yellow, turn it and twist it to get more white. So let's test out the white first, and then we just get a little bit of yellow in there. And once again we're going across the painting. So and there's the black is coming in, because as you go along you're getting pieces of the black from the original. Try and pace yourself so that you get a similar feel on the other side of the diptych, because you want that to be consistent. You want it to run right across here. Okay, so now that's, and the more you dab, the more it's mixing. So you must try and feel your way along. I'm turning my sponge all the time, and there are the birds in the background. Pick up a bit more yellow, and let's see what that does. So you start off slowly, start off lightly, and just get this chaos that happens in the background, almost like it's an abstract painting, so you're kind of not sure what you're going to get. And that's so cool about abstract. Remembering the tone of these trees were very light. So I want to create a dark background. So the tone is very important. And the background can carry a little bit of yellow to spark it up a bit and give it a bit of color. And nothing is regular. Nothing is regular. You're kind of getting this chaos that happens all across the painting. Very easy to do, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that doesn't mean this is like the perfect painting. It just means it's what it's going to be. Getting light that comes through the trees here. The piece where there's a horizon line, and then some accents that happen here. Now there is another stage to this painting that I want to do, which is very, very easy to do, and that's with spray paint. So stick with me and let's see what happens. There's a patch, there's a patch, there's a patch over there. Got a little bit of yellow in it and a lot of white. I'm a little concerned that this tape here hasn't ended at the end of the painting, but it's going to fade out. It's going to fade into its own background. These trees that we had at the beginning must have very strong background. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just reach across here and get my black. You can even use dark green, you can use purple, you can use whatever color you want your theme to be. So I'll just put a bit of black in there, spread it out, and we'll see what this does. It's going to create a really strong contrast right in the center of this painting, like on the third line here. And let's see, it's going to bring out the tone of the trees, which is light. What you kind of have to do is have a photographic memory of what that tone was, because it totally disappears with the painting. I'm darkening the bottom of this painting with black, and that's going to be press it in and get this confused kind of light and dark. This might be too light, so let's just darken that. The more you press your sponge in, the more that texture of the sponge is going to disappear. So this is a special kind of sponge. It's got these foam balls that happen in bubbles that happen inside the sponge, and it works because it's irregular. And there we go. Let's put that in there and there. We're almost ready for the next stage. I'm actually enjoying it. I love the painting so far, and I can imagine what it's going to be like. But to give you a little peek, that's my tone. That's the tone of my tree. So what I'm going to do is try and replace that right on the same spot again, and then just press it down so we don't have paint going underneath the masking tape. I don't want the painting to become complicated, but this demonstration here is using the same side of my sponge. I'm going to pick up some purple, and I'm going to pick up some burnt sienna. Now the siennas are based in yellow, so the purple and the yellow base is going to be, it looks brown, but it actually is a yellow. If you had to add white to this, I'm turning my sponge so that I get a bit of a control over the tone and the color. So you can see that tone is darker, and we run it across the bottom of the foliage, And then I'm going to twist my brush. I keep saying brush, but I mean my sponge. I was using it as a brush, but it's not an excuse. It's not a brush, it's a sponge. Just picking up some darker areas because I know what my tone is of my tree. The tone of the tree is light and I want that to come right up front. Then I'll pick some color up here, and you got to kind of go with the feeling of it, you know. And then the next stage, don't forget to put the sponge in a bucket so that you can use it again, because it's a very valuable thing on every level. Turning it this way, or turning it this way, or turning it that way, having this corner working for you. So I'll be doing that later on. In the meantime, I'm going to put this piece of branch that I've found. It's a conifer, actually. It's funny. And I'm going to go across the center here. Give me a bit of a connection between these two paintings. And I'm using a regular spray paint. And let's see what happens. And it really is about seeing what happens, because you're not sure what's going to happen. If you half press the button on the top of this can, you're going to get a splatter, kind of splatter. I'm not sure if you can hear that on the video, but it's not going to be a fine spray. And then what we do is, okay, so I'm joining this piece to the tree and giving me some atmosphere. It might be good enough. Then of course you can turn it over and do it again, or do some other part, you know. So what would happen, what would be good, because this is white, I would like to just atmosphere this dark area here across the center. And try not to forget, you kind of crossing over these two paintings. So let's see what that happened. That's good enough, and actually very nice. And then I've got two shapes here which I found. What I do is I I pick these very carefully, nice and flat as possible. There's a piece here that's like could actually go away because it's trying to interfere with my project, and put it and look at the base of this piece here. It's touching the tree. Remembering where the trunk of the tree is, so that you can make it a construction. I'll put this one back, and I'm going to spray a little bit of atmosphere over the top of that using a mask, and then get that a little bit of a change there, and then I turn it over and I'm going to go this way and put a bit of atmosphere in here. Half pressing the button is going to give me a splatter, which might be nice. And then let's get, there's a splatter right there, and that's nice. So I'm going to use it again right in the center where I want the splatter to be, the light coming through. I'm running out of paint here. I've got another tin, but it's too far away, so let's just chuck that on. And then this exciting part about this whole painting process, well, nothing happened over there. Doesn't matter. Just blow it off or brush it off, get it gone. There we go. And I think I need a little, okay, so what now? The main thing about this whole process is that try to watch your painting as you're going, and then decide what to do next. That's the main idea of this video. Start with the process, and then look at the product as we're going along. So I'm getting a foreground definition here by spraying, and I've got a new tin of white. And I'm just going to give it a little spray, especially along the stem. And then remembering to go across the center of the whole thing. And then around this side, I'm going to give it another spray. Try and press your frond or your branch down as tight as possible. And then keep it in a position and spray from a consistent point of view so it doesn't creep underneath your branch. Here we're going to get another part where we can cross over. I'm crossing over the gap in between the diptych. Give it a spray, and this creates atmosphere. Try and keep it as flat as possible. And then some more splatters that might just make the atmosphere pick up. Half spray, half press your button down, and you get this crazy kind of splatter mark. There's another one that's happening there. It really is a trick to make an easy painting out of masking. Understanding what happens in behind the mask, which is this crazy clutter. Now I'm just about to finish this painting. So I want to get an idea of what's happened in the painting. So I'm pulling off the mask. Okay, let's take the mask right off. And what that means is a little pick it out here. And now what we've got, man, this is the magic of it. This is the magic final thing. Okay, now I've got 4 trees. So I've got 2 more trees to go, and the background has created an atmosphere that the background has created an atmosphere. Now I don't want to actually touch it. It's like really good. I'm cool with that, happy with that. I'm not kind of cool with these pieces that happen at the bottom here. But that can be sorted out with a little bit of paint, so a paintbrush, some kind of dirty color, and just soften the bottom of these trees here. So let's see what happens here. We don't want to paint too much. It's more of a masking exercise, rather than a painting exercise. But what happens at the back. And I don't know, I think that's finished. The last thing to mention is that I painted it in such a manner, and a diptych can actually switch over, and you still have you still have the same atmosphere in the painting, but it's changed the painting completely. So you've got to watch this kind of thing where there's such a strong contrast here with the yellow and the white. So yeah, that's it. End of the painting demonstration. Let's put it back the way it was, and then we see. Okay, there it is, somewhere there, like that, and somewhere there like that. You could take this far. You could take this to the point where you're painting with a tiny little brush and you're picking up strong branches that are coming off the trees. It's really that easy. That's how easy it is. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your art friends, please. It helps my channel. Hey, thank you. Bye. I've looked at the painting and I see, okay, there should be a couple of contrast areas here. So that's like not solid black, and I'm using a basic pointed brush, and what I'm going to do is try not to keep it even, try not to keep it even, give it a feel of variation, which is exactly what a forest is, like variation. And then the other very important thing is try not to cross over this divide here with a serious definition, because what happens is it's going to struggle to be switched around. But I'm creating a variation, and that's that's the beauty of acrylic paint, because you can thin it down as much as you want to. And all I'm doing is, when I paint my trees, I try and follow the growth of the tree. So we go up to the point where it becomes thin. Well, there we go, a little bit heavy, and then a little bit heavy again. Try and follow that side try and follow the growth of the tree with your brush, and it gives heavy definition. So what I'm doing here is creating, and I don't want to cross this line. I'm just getting, and there's another light area here which I want to contrast with another strange brush stroke, and then I think it might be finished. Let's take this tree all the way up. Change this tree. It's like a Gustav Klimt kind of copy or style of painting in a very quick way. Easy to go. That's actually brilliant. I love it. I love it so much. It doesn't mean it's the best. It just means it's an exercise, something to follow, something to try when you're not sure what to paint. Remember the masking tape idea from the beginning, and then the sponge idea as we go along, and then the final touches. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. It's going to really help my channel and get things going, and there are more paintings to do. So we just have a quick look of what this looks like. It doesn't kind of match, but it's okay. Two different paintings working together, and that's a diptych. And it's remember that if you have an object and an object, that's not so bad. But when you have two paintings that make up one painting, that's a little bit tricky. You've got to find your balance between these two areas here down the center of the painting. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.